well. The second topic is now hostage situation. I think this is a nightmare for everyone. Imagine as a civilian, you go to a bank and you want to pick up some money, and then all of a sudden there is, oh God, some robbers, bank robbers, and just they come in and, okay, what do you do if there is such a situation? Let's stick to a bank, because normally when such a thing happens, a hostage situation, it turns quite violent. What does the police do in such situation, or SWAT team?
Well, I'd like to start by saying hostage situations are very few and very far between. So I'm not going to say that they don't happen, because they do, but of all the crimes and felonies that get perpetrated in this country on a daily basis, the hostage situation is very low on the list. In the last 30 years, my police department was one of the only ones that had ever done even a single actual hostage rescue. And I'm not going to say for sure that there wasn't another one anywhere in Metro Atlanta, but there haven't been very many. So if you're talking one every decade or so, the likelihood is very low. But the principles are still the same. There is a priority of life structure that we have. Victims are the highest priority, innocent victims, bystanders, the highest priority on our list for protection. The officers are also high priority, but of course we're out there putting our lives on the line for the innocent victims and the innocent bystanders. And of course we do care about the lives of the perpetrators, even though they're the ones who typically cause these problems and require the violence to be used because of their own actions. But we're not out there to, shoot people just because we can. We're not there to administer justice on our own. It's our job to get them to court safely and let the courts figure things out. So that being said, a hostage situation is typically going to proceed in kind of the same steps. Unless the hostages are actively being injured or killed, we're not going to go in and get them. We're going to call the bad guys out, and we're going to do the best that we can to keep everybody from getting hurt. But again, if the bad guys start hurting, injuring, killing, threatening, we're going to have to do something. And typically, if there's a SWAT team already on scene, they have an emergency response force that will be prepared and equipped to rush in there if they have to. But it's a last resort.
Yes. Okay. So rushing means try to eliminate those people, those perpetrators, as soon as possible before they hurt more people, more hostages.
Well, the main idea is to go in there and make them stop. So if we have to go in a hurry because they're hurting people, the goal is to rush in there as fast and as tactically as we can and make them stop. And however we can make them stop could be by just the nature of our presence, busting through the wall, blowing through a door, loud commands, show of weapons, could be anything all the way up to and including the use of deadly force that makes them stop. So hopefully that kind of answers that.
Yes. And SWAT team members are all protected, right? I mean, they have the body armor, correct?
Yeah, and it depends on the department. All the equipment is different, but there's a lot of similarity that runs through the departments. Most of it looks like military equipment because that's where it comes from.
Yes.
So a lot of it's designed specifically for law enforcement, but we do have shields. We do have bulletproof vests or bullet resistant vests that cover more of us than an average street officer would. My team for a few years even had bulletproof greaves that covered from the top of the foot all the way up to the knee. And,
does it work? Does it stop the bullet?
I sure hope so, because they were a pain in the rear end to wear. My understanding, they don't use those anymore. They were very cumbersome, but yeah, they can. With the use of shields and tactics and things like that, you can accomplish quite a bit. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, and then also, would you like to tell us about also like snipers and sharpshooting? Because in such situation, you have also application for those trained officers, correct?
Right. I ran our sniper team for probably about 10 years, if I remember right. The police sniper in the U.S. is mostly a tool for gathering information. It is very rare that police snipers actually fire their rifles outside of training, but they do probably get more training in that particular skill than most officers do in any other field. We trained when I was running the team, it was at least twice a month, 8 hours a day. And you had to have a certain level of proficiency that was tested on a monthly basis. And, none of us in the metro area that I recall have ever actually fired a shot from a sniper rifle on a SWAT call out. But we all knew that if we needed to, that we were going to be able to rise to the occasion and do what it was that we were required to do. And I hope that makes sense.
Okay. Could you tell us and share with us some of your dangerous encounters? Have you ever had, as a police officer, let's say arresting or hostage situation, something where a situation where you really felt being in danger or endangered?
It's kind of interesting because most of the time when you have critical incidents of that nature, in my personal experiences, you don't realize how dangerous it was until it's over. Because while it's going on, you don't have time to worry about that. It's just constant problem solving. But since you were talking about sniper situations, there was one where I was deployed as a sniper on a barricaded gunman in a house, and I have another officer, we always work in pairs, who's with me, and our armored vehicle is actually pulled up to the front of the house, and the rest of the team is in the armored vehicle, and we're calling the suspect out of the house over the loudspeakers, and I can hear a buzzing going, well, it sounds like it's fairly close and going overhead, and I know what bullets sound like when they go by, and that sounded a lot like that, and waited for a second, and there comes another one. But I wasn't hearing the report from the firearm. I was only hearing the bullet flying through the air. And it sounds like almost like a buzzing bee. And by the second time I heard that go by, it was like, yeah, there's somebody in there who's shooting in our direction. Now, I couldn't tell if they were shooting at us or just shooting in our direction. But it wasn't long there after that second round went overhead that the front door, which was a glass front door, shattered. Now, of course, there's all the light on the front of the house that's being put in there by the armored vehicle, so it makes the inside of the house kind of dark. But I could plainly see that the glass had been shattered. And then I see a figure approaching the front door, and in his hand, it's easy enough for me with the optics that we have on our rifles to be able to identify things like objects in people's hands, especially when they're only less than 100 yards away. And I could tell he was holding a pistol. And just as I was about to pull the trigger, I realized that the pistol he was holding was empty. The slide was locked to the rear. I could even tell that the magazine was out. And he was actually coming to the front door to give up. So that's pretty stressful, but at the same time, it's something that we train for over and over again. We train under stress, so our brains can actually function while these things are happening, and we can realize things like, hey, the guy's gun is empty. He's not a threat anymore. Even though 2 of the shots he shot were actually from an interior room, came through an exterior wall, and were in our direction, he had no idea that we were there. He was just shooting his gun in his house. So, it's something like that is as stressful as anything else I can think of. So,
of course. I have another question, Rich. Have anyone, or in the past, let's say, has up to now, has anyone, okay, or during your active duty, attacked you? Because I'm sure many martial artists who watch this channel would love to know that. Attacked you by a knife during your when you wanted to arrest?
I have not been attacked with a knife. I've had people threatening me with knives. If the differentiation there is what you're looking for, where they've been holding the knife and they've been saying, "Hey, don't come near me because I'll cut you if you do."
Yeah.
But I've never actually been attacked by somebody with a knife trying to use that knife to cut me.
What did you do in such a situation when they said, "Don't come close, I will use it against you"? With a knife?
Yeah, the principles kind of remain the same. We want to contain him. We don't want him to go where he can hurt anybody else. Because a knife is deadly force, then absolutely a firearm is warranted, but I'm going to keep my distance from him as long as I can. I'd like to have as much backup available as I can. Maybe we can use less lethal or non-lethal force options to get him to drop the knife. If he allows us to contain him, then a hostage negotiator is an option. And again, if there's no reason for us to go in there and attack him to make him stop injuring or trying to kill somebody, then why would we? We don't want people to get hurt if there's no reason for them to be hurt. And just because the guy's standing there holding a knife saying he's going to cut people doesn't mean you can just all of a sudden start shooting at him. But now if he makes an overt action to make good on those threats, then, of course, at that point, things change. And there is no problem with, just because we have guns and all he brought was a knife doesn't make it an unfair fight.
Of course, knives are very dangerous. Absolutely. Yeah. Very dangerous.
Knives are very scary. And you got to assume if somebody chooses a knife as their primary weapon, that they must be very proficient with it. Yeah. And if somebody's really proficient with a knife, I know I'm not. And I know I've seen pictures of people that have tried to defend against knife attacks, and it doesn't usually work out very well. So again, distance is your friend in that particular instance.
Absolutely.